Of all the places you booked, where were you allowed to be to let your creative flag fly the most?
I'd have to say WWE, because it was the longest and it was just the most fun. I loved the people I worked with. It was a pretty creative environment, and we could. There was a time where you could just pretty much throw anything out, and everything was considered. I mean, there's nothing that's not considered there.
You were there over how many years total?
22.
Right. How many of that working creatively?
I was from 90. I was really only out of creative for about 2 years.
Okay. So you worked there on camera. You went to Global right after that, right? And then you came back. So around 95-ish?
92.
92 you came back, okay. So you were there for a really interesting span, because you were there for the really kind of cartoony, some troubled years, the trials and subpoenas and all that stuff. Bizarre character creations, and then into really serious, nitty-gritty, edgy, hardcore, dare I apply that word, 97, 98,
right.
Rock, Austin. So you had your hands creatively in very different styles of wrestling. Which did you enjoy more? Where you got to say, maybe this guy's a hockey player and he comes to the ring with a mask, versus saying, Steve, you're going to bleed like a stuck pig when Brett has you.
See, I came from Texas, and I came from the South, where it was all about blood and guts and gore and reality and snug, and you made it as real as you possibly could. So Mantar was a tough pill to swallow.
For him too.
You know, some of those were pretty out there, but you have to understand the process too. And it wasn't so much saying, "Well, hey, God, we need a hockey guy. Let's get a Goon and let's put him in this." It was more of, you have talent, and sometimes you have a talent. Wild Bill Irwin, for example, who had been Super D, he had been Wild Bill, he had been the Long Rider. He had these different gimmicks. Good hand in the ring, but what do you do with him? I mean, what do you do with him? And one thing Vince was excellent at is he would sit there and talk to talent and find out as much as he could about him and find something that he could tap into. One thing Bill Irwin was he played hockey. He was a Goon when he played hockey, and he loved hockey. Big hockey fan from Minnesota. Had the Minnesota accent, and he was as far from a cowboy in Vince's eyes as you could get. But here was a guy who was the Goon, who they sent out to go get in the fights, who they sent out to go do this. In his hockey days, why not bring that to life?
Why not bring it to life saying he was an decorated ex-hockey player, and that he's not coming to the ring being a hockey. Well, we know some athletes that were, some wrestlers that had professional football. Wahoo had professional football. They didn't come to the ring in a Jets helmet.
No, but he came in a headdress, let everybody know he's an Indian. What's the difference?
Touche.
What's the difference? Okay? Bill came out dressed as a hockey guy. Now, the boots might have been a little ridiculous. Those were Bill's idea. But I loved it. I mean, I thought, okay, you take it to the extreme. You take it as far as you can take it. Sometimes reality and believability get messed up in there somewhere. But sometimes you take it and go, what's next? Bastion Booger. Man, I'd heard about what this great worker, Mike Shaw was, and so on and so forth. He'd done his Norman the Lunatic thing and everything at WCW, and he came in, and Vince just had this vision for him as a mad monk.
Yeah.
And didn't work. It just didn't. Mike moved in slow motion, and he didn't feel it. He wasn't comfortable doing it. And he got so out of shape and just so...
But the wrestling monk. Concept of wrestling monk.
Yeah.
Doesn't get vetoed somewhere? For fuck's sake.
No, not.
Forget about what Mike could do or couldn't do. He's fat, he's skinny.
Not until you put him out in front of the audience and you test it, and then after you dig him out of the piles of shit that have been heaped upon him, and then you can go, God, guys, What are we going to do? Bastion Booger. Okay, great.
The Red Rooster.
Yeah.
Terry was on this very show. A rib that just
Wasn't a rib.
grew legs, or he is a rooster. What's the thinking?
Here's a guy, journeyman, that was a decent worker. Had been everywhere, been on TV. Middle of the card guy. Cocky, arrogant. Felt he was a top guy. Felt he was better than he was. Wanted to be Ric Flair. Dressed like Rick. Worked like Rick. Tried to, travel around with Rick. Wanted to be Ric Flair. He was a cocky, arrogant guy. When he met Vince, that was Vince's take on him. It was here's this cocky kid. If he only had half the talent he believes he had, he'd be a superstar. He's like a fucking cocky little rooster. Like, let's make him the cock of the walk. Let's make him the fucking rooster. Let's make him the rooster in the hen house. Because the rooster in the hen house, who rules the hen house? The rooster. He walks around and he's cocky and he's doing all this shit. He fucks every chicken in there, and he's the cock of the walk. And rooster is the number one guy. Wakes everybody up in the morning. Does whatever he wants because he can. And as Vince is doing it, and very genuine in that here's an opportunity to stop being Terry Taylor, that colorless, odorless, tasteless. I don't want to say that because I think Terry was a hell of a talent, but his personality kind of colorless, odorless, tasteless. It didn't.
Too white meat.
Way too white meat. Yeah. And here now, you've got an opportunity to take this character, make it larger than life, because especially at that point in time, you wanted characters larger than life. You wanted the extraordinary. You didn't want the ordinary. You didn't want Paul W. Taylor, Right. So now here's an opportunity, man, to come out and be who you are. Turn it up. Strut. He strutted anyway. Okay? He just didn't realize how he strutted when he walked. He would always,
But rather than make it a guy like that, we made him emulate the behavior.
We
of
didn't.
a
We
rooster.
didn't. We didn't.
That was
he
his
chose
take on it.
he chose to not take it seriously. He looked at it as a rib. He looked at it as a knock on him. He looked at it, well, this is a rib. They're punishing me for whatever reason. Vince didn't know him from Adam. He didn't care about whatever other baggage there was. He was like, this is what I see. And if Vince sees it, good God, go with it, because you'll make it, because it's his baby then. Terry looked at it as a rib. I'll never get over with this, because Terry knew better. And he did it half-assed. He didn't embrace it. And he was making a joke out of it versus do it balls out, make it work, and then see what happens. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that. And that's why it just didn't work. I mean, good God, we gave Bobby Heenan, we gave everything around him. Bobby, if you went with Bobby, that meant they saw something in you, you were going somewhere. And push came, stack the deck, and Terry didn't believe in it. Terry didn't feel it, so therefore it didn't work. But I'll tell you the first thing out of your mouth, you said Red Rooster, Terry Taylor, because you remember him as the Red Rooster. To this day, he's more recognizable as the Red Rooster than Terry Taylor ever, and he only did it for 2 years.
That's true.
So you tell me, did the gimmick work?
It worked in becoming iconic, but Terry as a wrestler probably would have wanted to be seen as iconic because of his in-ring or great promos or.
But he couldn't cut a great promo.
He couldn't. Okay, I got you.
So his in-ring work was great. So now adapt the Rooster and make that Rooster gimmick bigger, then it all comes together and all works.
Committing at least to even
Yes.
if you're given a bad gimmick, like Dusty
Right.
with the polka dots made it work, and you could have put Dusty as anything,
But
and it would
again,
have worked.
why? Okay, why was it bad? Why were the polka dots bad?
I don't think they were bad. I just think they were bizarre and silly. If I were able to get my hands on a talent like Dusty, I don't know that I'd color him.
But he is colorful, and he wore black.
Yeah.
And it was like it was the American dream, Dusty Roll, funky like a monkey. Go, man, color him up. Do some shit with him. You know, here was a guy who used to wear tie-dye and fur coats and be funky and dance to the ring. But then he came up there and he wanted to be this serious badass. And Vince looked at it, and I'll never forget it. Goes, I see him in polka dots. Everywhere, polka dots. Yellow polka dots. And Dusty thought that was a rib. And it wasn't. It was just like, he goes, no, he wanted him to stand out. He didn't want him to be the same Dusty Rhodes that had been at WCW or Jim Crockett at the time. And he wanted something new. He wanted another evolution of Dusty Rhodes. Hence the polka dots. And again, to this day, Dusty's remembered a lot for the polka. After everything Dusty did in this business, they remember Dusty for the polka dots.
But Dusty, you could have put in anything, and it probably would have worked.
I put him in a butcher smock and covered him in cow blood. So, I mean, hey.